And we're in the process of handing off. Dottie and I, we're not going to leave Guatemala. But we have set a goal for within the next 3 years. I'll be 75 in 3 years. Dottie will be 86. And we're going to hand off. And but that's part of what I'm going to share with you today, because you have been part of who's going to receive the baton. What God is doing, what God is showing me, what God is dealing with me about. We have some pictures of new kids up here that need sponsors, and if you're interested in sponsoring a child, I've got their picture and a brochure, and it tells you how to do that. And for those of you who don't know us, I brought some old Christmas pictures and stuff that you can just pick up, and kind of memorial, memory stuff. But let's get going, Dot, and see if this thing works. This is our first place with the new PowerPoint. So, okay, no, can you go back? There we go. I don't know how many of you remember this, but a number of years ago, a little girl came to us. The judge was so mad when she called me. I could not understand the judge. She was screaming so loudly at me. I thought she was telling me I had done something wrong, and she was screaming into the telephone, "Come now, bring your wife, come now." And she was irate. And when I got to court thinking I was about to get arrested, the judge was actually out in the road waiting for me to drive up, and she had a policeman with her, and they jumped in my truck, and she said, "Drive me to the hospital." And we went to one of the local hospitals in a village there. And there was a little girl that was 18 months old. And when I walked into the room, she was in a corner crib. They had her in a room by herself. She was in a corner crib, and she got up against the wall in the corner and started going up the wall, screaming at the top of her voice. So they made me leave the room. And they had to give her a sedative for Dottie to be able to hold her so we could bring her back to the house. She had been raped by her father. She was 18 months old. Her body was torn so badly it took 3 plastic surgeries to repair her. The judge was so angry. I literally believe if the judge would have had a weapon, she would have killed the father. That's how angry she was. It's been 15 years now, and that's the little girl. And she was celebrating her birthday, and I was holding her that day. I had presented her with flowers, and I was holding on to her, and I've never spoken to her one time about what happened, because she was 18 months old, and I never again mentioned it to her. But as I held her in my arms, and she was kissing me, and I said, "Baby, do you remember why you came to Casa? Why you came to us?" And she looked at me and she said, "Daddy, I think it's because my mama was poor." And that's what Jesus does. Jesus heals, and Jesus cleanses, and Jesus causes us to forget those things that Satan wanted to use to destroy our lives. But I wanted you to see Doris, because many of you heard her story 15 years ago when I shared her story with you. Okay? Of course, you always get to see this picture. That's 1989, 1990. And then this is what God has done. Dottie got prettier, I got older. It's amazing how the years have passed. It's amazing how many of these children are now married, have their own children, members of churches, in the business community. That's this last Christmas picture. So that gives you an idea of what Jesus has done over the years. Go on. And you heard the young lady say we have 4,951 children. And this week we just got a little boy, another one on dialysis, 4,952 children over the years. So, Dot, I want you to see the dialysis kids because they're our heart right now. The girl in the front, she's in the black and blue there. Her name is Genesis. She was the little girl that was dying, and we didn't know what was wrong with her, and we went to a nephrologist. And the nephrologist, of course, diagnosed that her kidneys were shutting down, and she needed a transplant. She had 5 sisters with us, and 4 of the 5 sisters were 5-point matches. They were perfect matches. And so we were able to get her a kidney transplant. If you look at her, she doesn't look that old, but she's almost 18 now. She's approaching 18. A brilliant young girl. She wants to be a nephrologist. But she is so healthy and so strong. The other children you see up there are on dialysis. The girl in the middle with the white, bless her heart, we were able to get her a kidney transplant, and she is doing very, very well. Go to the next picture. This is them, just gives you the height. The boy on the right is our oldest child, and he is 17 years old now, so he's outlived. We've had 5 pass away. They all died before 12 years of age. So he has outlived any of the other children that we've ever had. In fact, both the boys have. They're both on dialysis. They have to be on dialysis 12 hours a day, every day. So they're both very, very critical. But our biggest problem with the 2 older boys is they know they're going to die. And they have periods of great depression and etc. And they're constantly asking me, Daddy, why? Why doesn't anyone want to give me a transplant? Well, we've tried everything. We just can't match. There's no organ donors in Guatemala. There's no organ banks. So we don't have any place where we can go for organs. Our children that are 18, every child we have on campus has offered their kidney. Every child on campus has been tested, and none of them have a match for any of the children that all of these kids, except for the 2, need a transplant. The little boy on the left is Keiser. He's our youngest child. And if you look at the girl, the third from the left, that's Cindy. She was the first child to come to us after the death of the other children. She was there when 2 of them died. But she has been if you look how pretty she is and skinny she is, she's in the little pink dress there, third from your left. Go on. This is Keiser, and he's on dialysis. Go on. We bought him this for Christmas. In fact, one of our children, one of the young men that's on staff, he's married and has a child. Fernando, he's been here many, many years ago when he was a little bitty snort. But Fernando bought that for him for Christmas. So our kids love those children. Our older boys and girls just have a tremendous love for these kids. But that's his Christmas gift. Go on. This boy we got day before yesterday. And you can see his neck. That's where most of the dialysis we have to do is in the neck. So they go through a lot of pain and everything. But the good thing about this picture is he's on dialysis in that picture, but now he's had a transplant. So he's at our house and he'll be there until, forever. but he'll be there because he has to have the medication, the diet, the, cleanliness, and etc. Go on. Now, the little skinny girl I showed you that was so pretty, that's her in the pink now. And you can see her face. You can see the results of kidney failure. So she is, she and the girl she's holding are, unless God does an absolute miracle, their time is very, very limited. Once they start swelling like this, it's an indication that their organs are shutting down. And, but one of the things about our kids, and you've heard me tell the story, they're all saved. Every one of those children are saved. Every one of them are born again. The five that passed away were all born again. They were all saved. None of them died alone. They were in someone's arms when they died. All of these children, when it's their time to, be promoted, when it's their time, they will die in my arms, or they will die in Dottie's arms, or they will die in one of our, workers' arms. But they will not die by themselves. They will not die unloved, unwanted. They will be, there. Now, God has done such a marvelous thing in our lives because of these children. Go on. This is Christmas for Marjorie, one of the girls on dialysis. Go on. The boy on the right is Aroldo, and Aroldo is one of our boys we raised. He's been with us since he was Yohai to this, just a little bitty boy. And over the years, this child, if you could bottle compassion, you could not find a bottle big enough for the compassion this boy has for dying children. He has already gotten his RN degree, and he has just graduated as a nephrologist technician, meaning that he's able to do all of the dialysis, all of the other things that deal with, blood transfusion and the stuff that has to be done with them. And there he is in the hospital with one of the children they're doing nephrology now. But if you ever read my newsletter and you see the word Aroldo, that little skinny twerp right there, that's who that is. And he is a mighty, mighty man of God. I mean, he is a tremendous Christian. He weeps over those children. He loves them like his own kids. And that's what you have to have if you're going to deal with someone that's in that type of disease or that type of situation. Go on. The doctor that got me started is the guy there in the black, on the right, the black shirt. That's Dr. Lowe. Dr. Lowe is the one I told you about that was doing surgery in Utah. And he was operating on only rich families, rich children doing kidney transplants. And as he was in the middle of a transplant of a child, he told me, he said, I was literally thinking how much money I was making off of that one surgery. And he said, God spoke to me and said, Randall, children in Guatemala are dying because of a lack of finances, and you could make a difference. And he sold everything there. He's Guatemalan, sold everything in the United States, moved back to Guatemala, began a foundation called Fundabim, and in that Funda de Air, and he began, and he does free transplants for children that cannot afford it. And we're able to do anywhere from 18 to 21 transplants a year for children, free. And the transplants that he has done in the last 3 years, of all those transplants, which are more than 60 transplants, one child has passed away. So he is an expert physician. We're praying with all of our heart, and I ask you to join with me. We're praying that he will build a home on my property. I want him to come and live with me. I want him to be part of what we're doing, which you're going to see in a moment. Because not only is he a tremendous physician, but he's a tremendous Christian, and he's a tremendous, compassionate man. He does this. He doesn't have very much himself, because everything that he has, he puts into the lives of these children. It's absolutely phenomenal, the love this man has for our children. Go on. This is where we're building our hospital. And if you've been to our campus and you've been where the school is, you know, the big property where the school is, we have a school that runs on both sides of a large courtyard. The kindergarten and special ed and classes, English classes, stuff are over here. And on this side is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all the way to 6th grade. And then we have a junior high. And then on the other side, we have a high school. And what we've done is, on this side, where the new well is, those of you been there, the new water well, the tower, if you're standing at the tower, you know, the tower would be right here. On your left would be that looks like a big building, and that was an area where we taught cooking to the girls. And what we've done is we're tearing it all the inside out. We're totally remodeling that, and that's going to be the kitchen services for the hospital. And we tore out 5 classrooms, and we started, you can see the hospital is going across from that against the back wall. Go on, Dottie. Now, this is not doing you justice, because right now the walls all the way around are as high as I am. And by the time I get back, they will have framed and poured the 2nd floor, which will be all concrete. The bottom of our hospital is going to have an emergency room, living quarters for a doctor, for 2 nurses, x-ray equipment, an operating room, hemodialysis unit. All of that will be on the bottom floor. And then on the 2nd floor will be 15 to 20 girls on dialysis. And on the 3rd floor will be the same for 20 to 30 boys on the 3rd floor. Our desire is that by November 1st, we will open this by November 1st. Remarkably, it will be in operation by November. And we will be able to minister to anywhere from 30 to 45 children at a time. And so what I have done, go on, Dottie. Oh, we had 5 surgeries in the last 3 weeks. And these boys are boys that came to us that had been abused. Their arms were non-functional. We actually had one boy, he could hold his arm like that, and instead of doing like this, he could do it backwards. And all of them were just, their parents had, I don't know what they did to them. So they all had surgeries. We had a surgery, we had 5 surgeries, a little girl and a boy that had his appendix out, and then these 3, all with, so if you think you have medical expenses, call me. But they're all doing so well. The only problem was the one with his shirt up like that. He had just come home from the hospital, and I drug him out of bed and set him in a chair to take his picture. He wasn't real happy, but he's doing good. Go on. This is a little girl we just got, and look, you can see the bruises on her back and legs. Go on. You can see what they did to her. I do not have their pictures up here, but if you want to sponsor a child that is not, we do not publish. We cannot publish because these children have to go to court, and they're under death threats because the ones that abuse them know that if they go to court, then they're going to prison for a number of years. And so we have about 40 kids that we cannot put on the web, that we cannot advertise that we have. I'll show you another one in a moment. And, but those children, we cannot put their pictures out and say, would you like to adopt, or help them. But if you want to help a special child like that, I can give you information about that. Okay, go on. This is a boy we just got. Look at his back. I mean, it's phenomenal. And he's 10 years old. It's phenomenal the way these children are treated. They're treated like animals. He was beaten like this because he was begging on the streets. Mama made him beg on the street, and he couldn't bring home enough money. They make him have a a certain amount they have to bring home every night. And if they don't bring that money home, they don't eat. They won't feed them, or they beat them. And so this is a little boy we just got, and you can see how horrible he's treated. Go on. This is where the dialysis children live now. And many of you from here have built this building, helped us build this building. And what we're going to do is that Dr. Lowe, see, he wants to do transplants, but you can't do transplants if children cannot be given the anti-rejection medicine for the rest of their lives. And that's sucker, it's very, very expensive for the rejection medication. It cost us $7,000 a month just for rejection medication. So it's very expensive. And these children, if they get a kidney transplant and they send them back to a dirty floor, dirt floor, adobe walls, and they don't have the medication, they're going to die in 6 months. So what Dr. Lowe wants to do, he has contracts with parents right now. We have, listen to this, we have 200 children that are ready for transplants. And what we want to do, Dr. Lowe's desire is that our hospital will also include, we're going to use this building also, and what we want to do is have like a McDonald's house, because we can sell the parents on on allowing their children. We have parents that want to give their kidneys, but they know that they're not going to have their kids, just giving the kidneys the first stage. But if we can convince them that we have like a McDonald's house, we're going to call it something else, but then the parents can come and visit, and they can stay there, and we can feed them. Parents are just as poor as church mice, so we can actually minister Jesus to them, feed them. They can come spend a weekend. They'll be with their children. They can do that every week if they want to and be close to their children. Then we can have the child in order not only to save his physical life, but to be able to save his spiritual life as well. So that's what we're going to do with that. Go on. This gives you an idea now where it is. You see the construction on the right, and that gives you an idea of the school. And if you're looking at that, and you see the blue building where we've torn up to the blue building on the right, here's what we're doing, And unbelievably, my board is in agreement. But my goal is, as soon as we can get this hospital built, we're going to tear down 4 more walls, and we're going to put another hospital. And the second hospital is going to be for children that are with childhood diabetes and cancer. So we're going to have a cancer hospital and childhood diabetes unit, and then we're going to tear out the rest of everything on that side, and we're going to build a hospital for AIDS, for children with AIDS. So our goal is, and you look at me and you say, Mike, you're so old. Well, I am, but God just said, Moses is gone. Joshua, get off your rear and get to work. And so that's what the baton passing is all about. The baton passing is going to be to those kids that have my vision, my heart, my compassion, and know that God's called them, and that are just going to take the baton, and they're going to finish everything that Dottie and I have begun. And this is what Christianity is supposed to be. Jesus came off the cross and handed that baton to Peter, Paul, and all those other guys, and they handed it to somebody else, and they handed it to somebody else. And today you're running your race because Jesus handed off. And the ones that came after Jesus were faithful to continue to hand it off. And if we're faithful, I'm not making comparisons, but I really think family life has grown, hasn't it? I've known Francis for 1,000 years, but he handed it off, and look where God has taken it. And one day, this young man is going to be an old man, and he's going to hand it off. And every time God hands something off, it gets bigger. Every time it's handed off correctly, it gets bigger, it gets better. And as goodeth as we are right now with the ministry in Guatemala, I don't believe we've seen anything yet. I don't believe until Jesus comes, it's going to continue to grow and it's going to continue to reach thousands and thousands of children. Go on. That's the property. Look at our walls right there. That's our soccer field. And you see on the left is the big tree way down at the end, the kind of the roundish tree. And then on the right, you'll see a tree sticking out. 2 acres. God just gave it to us. 2 acres. So what we're going to do is, as I continue to build medical facilities, then we'll start building school facilities. And we'll put all the school to be down there and all the medical facilities. You see the corner of the junior high school there on the left. So we'll go all the way down to there, tear all that out, and have nothing but medical facilities. And then we can move the school down below. And, it's phenomenal what God has done for us. Go on. Here's where we start handing off. This is Oscar. Oscar was a little boy whose mama died. He came to us many, many years ago, and that's his graduation. This past December, he became an architect, and he is working in our village, our city next to us, San Bartolome. He has started as the assistant architect for a city planner for that area. Very smart young man. Go on. Look at that outfit. I'll tell you what. Some people just get better looking at age, but that ain't one of them. But this is probably the most important picture I'm going to show you. It's real neat when your child graduates from the university in Guatemala. If you're a college graduate, they dress you in your appropriate whatever degree you have, and then you carry his cap and gown. And they come across the stage in regular clothes, and then the parent goes up there and puts the cap and the gown on them. So, but this is Vilfredo, Billy. We call him Billy too. But Billy just graduated from the university and graduated in administration, and we have made him. He's another one. He's going to get the baton. Billy is in charge of all education, everything, kindergarten through high school. I'm going to keep college for another 2 years, but then we're going to hand that to him too. We're going to give him the college student. We have 81 in college this year, so we're going to be handing that off to him. Right now it's a full-time job. He's got all of education from kindergarten through high school, and we just started a workshops in carpentry, plumbing, etc. for degrees. They'll earn a degree. So we have all of that, and he's in charge of all of that also. So he has really got a tremendous job, but that's Billy. And then this is Oscar, the one I just showed you that graduated as an architect, and he's with his brother, and that's Josue, who just graduated from the university also in communication and graphic design. And what you're looking at is the next me, the one on the right. He will be the one that I hand the baton to. Josue was our first child. They're brothers, but Josue was our first child. His mother died giving birth to him. His father came and asked if we would take care of him for 8 months, and it's been 27 years. But his father went to prison, got saved in prison, is a preaching machine, and has built. Now the Lord has allowed us to build over 150 churches in Guatemala and pastors' homes. This past month, we finished the largest church we've ever built. It seats 1,200 people. It's the largest one we've built. We've built some in the and 800s, but this is by far the largest we've built, and it's all because of his father. You know, God takes even the worst things and he turns it to the good if you love God. And his father loved God, and he trusted Dottie and I with his sons all of these many years. Now they're both college graduates. They're both men of God. And when Dottie and I come in September, we come twice a year. When we come in September, Josue will start coming with us, and he will start learning how to present the presentation, and he will be able to continue. One of the things that, you know, and I'll fuss at you for a moment, I don't want Casa to die when I die. And I don't want people to say, well, Mike and Dottie are gone. You know, it's not a Mike and Dottie deal. The children will still need food and clothing. You know, it's not about us. And so I just pray with all my heart, those of you that have helped us all these years, realize that, you know, it's when Dottie and I are gone, you know, you're still going to be part of a marvelous, marvelous ministry. And it's going to be these guys. I mean, these guys. And that guy on the right is the most personable kid. He'll drive you crazy. He can flirt with a watermelon. He'll win your heart, but he has such a compassion for Jesus, such a love for Jesus. And I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he can take to the next level. Go on. We're almost finished. Two of my favorite kids, Anna Lee is about to graduate. She's finished with everything. She graduates when Dottie and I get back next month. She'll get to walk and, you know, but she will be a certified social worker, so she will take over our social services department. Marlon, the girl on the right, has already graduated from college as a pharmaceutical representative, and now she's studying another area related to pharmacy. But they are both A students, straight A students. How old are you? You remember the girl that knocked on my door and said, Daddy, I'm the only girl in my village that has not been gang raped, and I want to be a virgin when I get married? That's her. 17 years later, that's her. Go on. Candida is our daughter. She's one of the children we adopted in Guatemala. Kevin lives in our home with Dottie and I in our personal home. They both just graduated from nursing. They're both starting nephrology education. Kevin is taking his entrance exam to become a physician, to start all of that, you know, go to college to be a physician. And one day he will be our medical director. You know, he's a very, very smart kid. I know he's going to be able to graduate. But that's the two of them on graduation day. Go on. This is Minor. You don't know Minor. But years ago, we got a little boy. He was only 18 months old. He could not sit up. He could not talk. He would lay on his back and do this. Severely mentally retarded symptoms. And one of our girls said, Daddy, can I have him? And I said, what do you mean? She said, can I have him? Can I take him to my dorm and just take care of him? And she took him to her dorm, and she slept with him. He was just 18 months old. She slept with him. We had to put him in a full body cast because his body was all twisted. And we put him in a full body cast, and she took care of him. 3 months later, he was walking. He was talking. When he was in second grade, he became the number one student in the second grade. And now, here he is, second year of college, making straight A's in college. And he is our adopted son. We adopted him. He is Orlando Clark. So he's our son. And he will be the one that we transfer all of the property to. And he will be responsible for the physical makeup of Casa, for all the acreage we have in the buildings, and the legal protection that we're going to need when something happens to Dottie and I. And then I wanted you to see Maria. She came to us a week ago. We can't put her on the web, but I wanted you to see her face. This is a very good example of what parents do to their children. They, if a child can walk, a child can work. Education is not important. Nothing is important except what can you give me as a parent? What can the child do for me? And so they had her cooking French fries on an open fire, on an open burner, with oil and a gas burner. And she was trying to light it. She's only, I think she's 8 years or 9 years of age. And she was trying to light it, and it exploded. And so it, of course, got her face, as you can see. The worst part is her arm. The right arm is severely burned and severely damaged. But it shows you, the cruelty of Satan and the lack of respect for people towards their children and what they ought to be doing for their children instead of waiting for the children to do for them. Okay, I think we're going to finish up. Look at this group. We just got 7 brothers and 1 sister. You see the boy in the red, he's holding his 2-month-old baby sister. He also just got out of prison. That little boy was 3 years in prison for extortion with a pistol and trying to feed his brothers and sisters. And so the police got him. And nobody will take a family that large, except the crazy Cajuns. And but you can see how happy they are, because they just ate. They just got clean clothes. They got new clothes, and they just ate. And they're going to have their own bed to sleep in, and everything. Just the basic things. Go on. This is Sandy Karina. She just graduated from college and is a physical therapist. Go on. And this is Kersey. She just graduated from college. Go on. And this is our last picture I'll show you. The girl there is Stella. She lived in my house. We have Michelle, who is a handicapped child. And so we've always had somebody that could live with us that could take care of Michelle because she is a special project. And Dottie, of course, has a great relationship with her, but we had to have somebody that could sleep with her and help her with, bathing and her food and all those kind of things. And Estella did that for many, many years. And she went to college, and she met a boy in college. And that's the young man. And they got married November the 1st of this past year. And he is just a solid Christian, just a godly young man. And we're so happy for her. We're so happy for, her faithfulness. And if you don't get anything else out of what I'm telling you, God blesses our kids because they learn to bless others. They learn to give to others. One of our house parents, Guatemalan couple that we raised and now they're married, they emailed me yesterday and they said, Daddy, all of our girls, and they have the high school girls, they said all of our high school girls have asked for an elementary girl that they can tutor every day. So when you have children that want to give, when you have children that want to, give up their time in order to bless more unfortunate kids, then of course God's going to bless them. God's going to honor that compassion. See what the next one is, just to finish up? There is Mario. You remember Mario is the little boy. His sister was raped at 8. They ran away from home because the older brother tried to stop his father, and the father tried to kill him and almost did. And they ran away from home in the middle of the night. And he carried his little brother. He can't carry him now. But he carried his little brother in diapers along with another brother and Estella, the sister. And they got to Guatemala, and they lived with us all of those years. And that's them there. And here's their wedding. Go on. There's her wedding day. And now she's pregnant. And this is Priscilla. Priscilla's the little girl that was thrown out on the street with her mother and her sister. And her mother is still with us 24 years later. She's our cook. And the girls have grown up, got married, have their own families. This girl, Priscilla, is a professional Christian singer. She's got her own recording studio. Her husband has a recording studio, and she has all the CDs, the discs, all those kind of things, and a tremendous Christian. Go on. This is our junior high graduates and high school graduates, and the Chinese embassy honored those students. That's an ambassador to the Guatemala, Chinese ambassador. These children all won an international competition and were given awards. So you can see 2 boys and 5 girls. Go on. I wanted to finish with Dora. This is a girl, and I know you've never thought about this, but this is a teenage girl I wanted to choke. You know, if I could have figured out a way to have gotten rid of her and God not know. She was the most uncontrollable, aggravating. Every time she'd go to court, she'd say, you know, how bad I was, how bad everybody else was. She wanted to go back on the streets. She didn't want to go home or anything like that. She was on the streets when the police found her. And she just wanted to go back and live on the streets. And she just gave me heck constantly, just constantly for a year. And so finally I told her one day, I said, you're going to court, you know, in a month. Just behave for a month. When you go to court, I'll send a letter to court and they'll put you someplace else. They're not going to turn you loose on the street because you're only 16. She's not even 16. I think she's 14. She looks older. And I said, I'll just turn you loose. You can, you know, go to another home. You don't have to put up with me since I'm so bad and all this kind of stuff. So she was real happy about that. But the following Sunday, she gave her life to Jesus. Now she's a leech. I gotta peel her off. You know, every time I see her, and that face, that's what she looks like now, all the time. Christ has just totally transformed her. And she went to court, and the courts, of course, had heard all of that stuff. And so the courts had a court order. They were moving her to another home. And she started crying and begged the judge, you know, to put her in another home. And he said, but you hate, you know, even the judges call me Poppy. You hate Poppy. She said, no, I love Poppy. So they gave her to us. So she'll be with us for a while. But her name is Dora. Isn't she beautiful? But that's a Jesus smile. You know, that's a Jesus smile. Thank y'all. I love you. And there's no place, you know, between... No. Thank you. It's all Jesus, isn't it? You know, God will bless you too if you bless others. And I don't go home and raise money. You know, I don't say, oh, we got to have this. We're building a hospital. But you know how much God has given us? In 5 months, $536,000 in the bank. And we have another promise of $150,000 April 1st. We have more money than we need. Hello. We have more money than we need to build the hospital and to equip the hospital. You know, of course, we're going to need money later to run the hospital. But in God... When I crossed into the border between Mexico and Guatemala in 1989, I went into total fear. I was scared to death. And I left Dottie and the kids at the hotel, and I went to the Mexican border, and I just stood at the border between Mexico and Guatemala. And I honestly said, great man of faith. See, there's no book in the Bible called Book of Mike. All right. I was totally fearful. I said, God, what did I do? Gave up a ministry, gave up everything back in the United States, drugged my kids all the way to Guatemala, and I have $2,000. What in the world have I done? And God spoke to me, and he said, Mike, what you have, you need, and what you do not have, you do not need. And what he was saying was, quit worrying. Everything I needed, I had. It's going to cost millions, of course, to take care of those children. But I don't need millions now. You understand? God has provided for us to be able to build the hospital, equip the hospital, start taking the children that God has for us. We're taking them now. But as we build, that's where you come in. Your prayers, that's so critical to us. But if you would consider one child, $35 a month, one child, that you could just pray for on a daily basis. Because every child you saw up there that I've told you these remarkable stories about, they all began like that. Every one of them began like this. Every one of them began like Dora began. Every one of them began with nobody loving them, nobody wanting them. And then some crazy Cajuns down in Louisiana said, we want to help Alex. And I could preach 2 hours today on Alex, what God has done in that young man's life. He is part of the team that is receiving the baton. Alex is the most unbelievable young man. I can't even begin to tell you what he has done with those with the older boys. He and his wife take care of the older boys, and they're reading the Bible. Alex is ministering to them. He takes every boy, 51 high school boys, and he takes everyone every night and goes over their homework with them. 51 kids. I don't even have a heart that begins to measure his heart. But that's what God does when somebody cared. And he was one of those little kids. He was one of those little kids when a youth pastor and a bunch of youth said, we want to sponsor a kid. And Brother Todd is a youth pastor, and those kids that were in his class started sponsoring Alex. And they have allowed God to create a mighty man of God. So, with all my heart, there's no place I'd rather be, and I don't say that. There's only 2 churches that I feel what I feel when I go there, and that's you and Brother Lee's church. That I feel it. I feel your compassion. I feel your love for our kids, and I feel, and I've watched over a quarter of a century, your participation. And that old man back there. What a man. But he handed off the baton. And praise God, he did. It's yours.